argument is that one who is the disciple now will automatically become Guru after his Guru disappears. July 9th directive appointing Ritviks by Srila Prabhupada was only a temporary arrangement. Prabhupada emphasized the need for an order from the Guru. One is desire or the intent of the spiritual master. Second is a general principle. And the third is the order. Tamal Krishna himself said that we are all conditioned souls, so we cannot be Guru. One becomes Guru only when he is ordered by his Guru. Anyone following the order of Lord Chaitanya can become a spiritual master. That is the principle. Hare Krishna. विश्वगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्. So today we are going to look at one of the arguments which is given by the supporters of the self-appointed Guru system in ISKCON. They give this argument to justify their system. The argument is that one who is the disciple now will automatically become Guru after his Guru disappears. Hence, the July 9th directive appointing Ritviks by Srila Prabhupada was only a temporary arrangement. Since in Srila Prabhupada's physical presence, as a matter of etiquette, the disciples were not supposed to give Diksha on their own. Therefore, for that time, Ritviks. But after Prabhupada's disappearance, they automatically became Gurus. So this is an argument which is forwarded by the supporters of the self-appointed Guru system. And they quote some references of Srila Prabhupada also to support this argument. Before we look at the references which they are quoting to support their theory, let us first look at some quotes of Srila Prabhupada with regard to how a disciple becomes a Guru. The first one is a quote from a room conversation recorded in San Diego on June 29, 1972. Authorization Rishi, how many qualifications does a spiritual master have in terms of being a spiritual master? Prabhupada, one qualification, he is a devotee of God. That's all. Authorization Rishi, also is he designated? Prabhupada, Authorization Rishi, does he have to be designated by the former spiritual master? He has to be a devotee. Prabhupada, oh yes. Authorization Rishi, surrendered and designated. That is, identifies disciplic succession, both surrender and designation. Prabhupada, and by the result. Authorization Rishi, and by the result of activity. Prabhupada, so far designation is concerned, the spiritual master authorizes every one of his disciples. But it is up to the disciple to carry out the order, able to carry out or not. It is not that the spiritual master is partial. He designates one and rejects other. He may do that. If the other is not qualified, he can do that. But actually his intention is not like that. He wants that each and every one of his disciples become as powerful as he is or more than that. That is his desire. Just like father wants every son to be as qualified or more qualified than the father. But it is up to the student or to the son to raise himself to that standard. Authorization Rishi, yes, I understand. Prabhupada, if you are incapable of raising yourself to the standard of becoming spiritual master, that is not your spiritual master's fault, that is your fault. He wants, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amara Ajnai Guru Haya, by my order, every one of you become a Guru. If one cannot carry out the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then how he can become a Guru? The first qualification is that he must be able to carry out the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he becomes Guru. So that carrying out of the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu depends on one's personal capacity. Amara Ajnai Guru Haya. Acceptance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna, that is there in the Shastra, in the Upanishads, in Mahabharata, in Bhagavata. So, in this conversation, the key point is, when Atreya Rishi asked, does he have to be designated by the former spiritual master? Srila Prabhupada replied immediately, oh yes, oh yes. This means that without being designated as a spiritual master by the predecessor or former spiritual master, no one can become spiritual master. This is consistent with other quotes of Srila Prabhupada on this. Like in this lecture on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 2, recorded in Nairobi on 28th of October 1975. One Indian gentleman asked Prabhupada a question. Brahmananda reframed that question for Prabhupada's better understanding. He is asking, when did you become the spiritual leader of Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada, when my Guru Maharaj ordered me. This is the Guru Parampara. Indian, did it? Prabhupada, try to understand. Don't go very speedily. A Guru can become Guru when he is ordered by his Guru. That's all. Otherwise, nobody can become Guru. And there is some more conversation between a woman and Prabhupada in Hindi. And then Prabhupada says, Shadimam Prapannam, I am surrendered to you. Whatever you say, I shall carry out. That's all. But that Indian gentleman is still not satisfied. He comes back again with this same question. When did he tell you to? Prabhupada, what is the business? When did he tell me? And why shall I disclose to you? It is so very insignificant thing that I have to explain to you. Indian man, no, I am just curious when. Prabhupada, you should be curious within your limit. You should know that one can become Guru when he is ordered by his Guru this much. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 8th chapter, 54th verse purport, Srila Prabhupada says, one should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession who is authorized by his predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhana. So Prabhupada defines Diksha Vidhana, the process of taking Diksha, as the one in which we are taking initiation from a spiritual master who is specifically authorized by his predecessor. And in a lecture on the Nectar of Devotion given on 30th of October 1972, Srila Prabhupada said, similarly, bona fide Guru means he must be authorized by the superior Guru. So in the previous quote, Srila Prabhupada defined the Diksha Vidhana, the process of taking Diksha also in the same manner, and even bona fide Guru is also defined in the same manner, that he must be authorized by the superior Guru. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Amarajnay Guru Haya Taraye Desha. He must receive the order from the superior, and the superior must be bona fide. Then he is bona fide, not self-made. So, if the Guru is not ordered specifically by his Guru, then he is not bona fide, he is self-made. So, the same principle was again reiterated by Srila Prabhupada in a room conversation in Bombay on 22nd April 1977. Prabhupada, people complained against Hansaduta. Did you know that? Tamal Krishna, I am not sure of the particular incidences, but I have heard general. Prabhupada, in Germany. Tamal Krishna, the devotee is there. Prabhupada, so many complaints. Tamal Krishna, therefore change is good. Tamal Krishna has misunderstood what is the problem. So Prabhupada clarifies. Prabhupada, no, you become Guru, but you must be qualified first of all. Then you become. Tamal Krishna, oh, that kind of complaint was there. Prabhupada, did you know that? Tamal Krishna, yeah, I had heard that, yeah. Prabhupada, what is the use of producing some rascal Guru? Tamal Krishna, well, I have studied myself and all of your disciples, and it's clear fact that we are all conditioned souls, so we cannot be Guru. Maybe one day it may be possible. Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna, but not now. Prabhupada, yes, I shall choose some Guru. I shall say, now you become Acharya, you become authorized. I am waiting for that. You become all Acharya. I retire completely. But the training must be complete. Meaning, the devotee must be qualified. Tamal Krishna, the process of purification must be there. Prabhupada, oh yes, must be there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants that. Amara Ajnai Guru Haya, you become Guru. But be qualified. Little thing, strictly follower. Tamal Krishna, not rubber stamp. Prabhupada, then you will not be effective. You can cheat, but it will not be effective. So here, again, Prabhupada emphasized the need for an order from the Guru, as well as qualification on the part of the disciple. And yet again, on 28th of May 1977, in the famous GBC meeting, Srila Prabhupada said the same thing, order of the Guru. So Prabhupada said, Amara Ajnai Guru Haya, be actually Guru, but my order. And again, in another place in the same conversation, Prabhupada said, when I order, you become Guru, he becomes regular Guru. That's all. He becomes disciple of my disciple. That's it. So the key thing is, when I order, when Prabhupada orders. So from all these references, it is clear that one becomes Guru only when he is ordered by his Guru. So actually there are three things. One is the intent or the desire of the spiritual master and Mahaprabhu. Second is a principle. So what is a principle? Principle means, for example, we say that all Indians can become the president of India. It is a principle. It doesn't mean that immediately everyone has to become president. No. All Indians can become the president of India. That's a principle. But then, for a person to become the president of India, he has to have an order in the form of the majority vote of all the members of the parliament. Then he can become president. Otherwise, principle is everybody, every Indian can become the president of India. So, statement of a principle cannot be construed as an order, because to activate a principle, you need an order. An order is what gives action to the principle. Principle by itself cannot act. It cannot become an order. An order has to separately come. So we have, one is the desire or the intent of the spiritual master. Second is a general principle. And the third is the order, the specific order, which is actually what warrants action. So whenever we look at different quotes of Srila Prabhupada on this matter, very carefully see if it is expressing his intent or desire, or is it stating a principle, or is it an order. Statement of a principle or expression of intent or desire alone is not enough to authorize a disciple to act as a Guru. The explicit order of the Guru is what is essential for authorizing the disciple to become Guru. Keeping in mind the above three aspects, let us look at some of the references quoted by the supporters of the unauthorized self-appointed Guru system to justify their system. So we have to measure each quote against whether it is an intent or a desire, or is it a principle, or is it an order. Based on that, the things will become clear. So one of the quotes, in a letter to Madhusudan on 2nd of November 1967, Srila Prabhupada wrote this: anyone following the order of Lord Chaitanya under the guidance of his bona fide representative can become a spiritual master, and I wish that in my absence all my disciples become the bona fide spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So clearly, this falls under the category of intent or desire. It is not an order. So if you see, Prabhupada said that, I wish that in my absence all my disciples become the bona fide spiritual master, which is an intent. And the first part of the letter, what did Prabhupada say? Anyone following the order of Lord Chaitanya can become a spiritual master. That is a principle. Just like we say, any Indian can become president of India. So that does not constitute an order. So this letter has two parts. The first part is Prabhupada stating the principle, and second part, Prabhupada expressing his wish, his desire, his intent. So there is no order in this letter. So we cannot use this letter to justify somebody saying that I am a disciple of Prabhupada, so automatically I can become a Guru based on this order. Next, we look at this letter to Tushta Krishna, written on 2nd of December 1975. In this letter, Srila Prabhupada wrote, keep trained up very rigidly and then you are bona fide guru and you can accept disciples on the same principle. But as a matter of etiquette, it is the custom that during the lifetime of your spiritual master, you bring the prospective disciples to him, and in his absence or disappearance, you can accept disciples without any limitation. This is the law of disciplic succession. I want to see my disciples become bona fide spiritual master and spread Krishna consciousness very widely. That will make me and Krishna very happy. So, in this letter, the first sentence is, keep trained up very rigidly and then you are bona fide guru and you can accept disciples on the same principle. So, as Prabhupada himself is stating, this sentence is actually stating a principle. That if you are trained up rigidly, meaning if you are qualified, disciple can become guru. So, that's the principle. We have seen that from the earlier quotes also. But then, qualification alone is not enough. Explicit order is also needed, as we have seen in the earlier quotes. So, this statement of principle alone cannot constitute an order to become guru. And then, Prabhupada mentions, but as a matter of etiquette, it is a custom that during the lifetime of your spiritual master, you bring the prospective disciples to him, and in his absence or disappearance, you can accept disciples without any limitation. This is the law of disciplic succession. So, what is Prabhupada stating here? This is a statement of principle, which is obvious by the last sentence that this is the law of disciplic succession. And as we have seen earlier, a statement of principle cannot be taken as an order. It is not an active principle. So, and as we have seen earlier, a statement of principle cannot be taken as an order. A principle does not constitute action. It is not a call for action. It is simply stating a necessary qualification or condition. It is not a call for action. So, even this part of the letter is not an order. Then, in the last part of this quote, Srila Prabhupada says, I want to see my disciples become bona fide spiritual master and spread Krishna consciousness very widely. That will make me and Krishna very happy. Very clearly, Prabhupada says, I want. So, this is under the category of intent or desire. So, in this quote, in this letter also, Prabhupada gave a principle. Prabhupada spoke about his desire. So, but where is the order? In this quote, there is no order. Only statement of two principles and expression of his intent or desire. Hence, this cannot be taken as an order to act upon. You cannot use this to justify disciples automatically become gurus. Now, one more quote, which is brought up by the supporters of the self-appointed guru system. A conversation which was recorded on July of 18th, 1971 between Prabhupada and one gentleman by name Mohsin Hassan. So, in this conversation, Prabhupada starts talking about the Guru Parampara. Prabhupada mentions the names of the people. Prabhupada, yes, this movement is started from Krishna. Mohsin Hassan, yes. Prabhupada, then from Krishna, Narada, from Narada, Vyasadev, from Vyasadev to Madhvacharya, from Madhvacharya to Ishwarapuri, Madhavendrapuri, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then his disciples, the 6 Goswamis, then Krishnadas Kaviraj, then Baladev Vidyabhushan. So we are taking account very rigidly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I am the 10th generation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mohsin Hassan, yeah, the 10th. After you, is it any decision has been made who will take over? Prabhupada, yes, all of them will take. These students who are initiated from me, all of them will act as I am doing. Just like I have got many godbrothers, they are all acting. Similarly, all these disciples which I am making, initiating, they are being trained to become future spiritual masters. So here, we have to see that Prabhupada, what is Prabhupada is saying? These students who are initiated from me, all of them will act as I am doing. So they take this line and they say, see, Prabhupada is already authorized. But then Prabhupada is qualifying it. Similarly, all these disciples which I am making, initiating, they are being trained to become future spiritual masters. So, they are not yet qualified. If you remember that conversation with Athreya Rishi, where Atreya Rishi asked Prabhupada, what are the, how does one become a spiritual master? Prabhupada said, first is one has to be a devotee, then he has to be trained up, qualified. The spiritual master's intent is there, but if he is not qualified, the spiritual master will not designate him, he will not appoint him as the next guru. So Prabhupada is saying here, they are being trained. They have not yet become fully trained. They are being trained. And we have seen how in 1977, April 22nd, Prabhupada clearly said that their training is not complete. They are still conditioned souls. They cannot become spiritual masters. So this conversation is in 1971, where Prabhupada is saying they are being trained. Mohsin Hassan, how many Swamis do you initiated? American. I'm just speaking on the American. Prabhupada about 10. Mohsin Hassan, you have 10 Swamis. And outside of Swamis, what's the lower? Prabhupada, now they are competent. They can, not only the Swamis, even the Grihasthas, they are called Dasa, Adhikari and Brahmacharis. Everyone can, whoever is initiated, he is competent to make disciple. So here Prabhupada is stating one principle. What is that? Anyone who is initiated, he is competent to make disciple. Like we gave that principle, anyone who is an Indian, he is competent to become the President of India. But that alone is not enough. He has to, that principle has to be accompanied by an order, specific order. Then only this principle becomes actionable. So Prabhupada is stating a principle. Whoever is initiated is competent to make disciple. Then Prabhupada says, but as a matter of etiquette, they do not do so in the presence of their spiritual master. That is another principle that Prabhupada is saying. In the presence of the spiritual master, one doesn't initiate. After the spiritual master disappears, he can initiate provided his training is complete, or in other words, he is qualified and he also has got a specific order. This is the etiquette. Otherwise, they are competent. They can make disciples and spread. Become to whom? I mean, recruit more members in this. They do, but they are being trained up. So you see again, Prabhupada put that point. They are being trained up to make disciples and spread. But like we saw in the earlier quotes, training has to be complete and Prabhupada's order has to be there. So Prabhupada is stating principles here, that's all. And Prabhupada's desire that all his disciples should become gurus. That's Prabhupada's intent. Every guru's intent is like that. So Prabhupada continues, just like here in this meeting, one of my disciples, he is acting as priest. Instead of myself, he is acting. So some of my students, they are acting as priests. Some of them are swamis. So they are competent to make disciples. So Prabhupada is saying it doesn't matter whether you are a grihastha or a brahmachari or a sannyasi. Everybody, because they are initiated, they all can become spiritual master. And they can initiate and have their disciples. This is the principle. But that alone, that's not the only principle. There are many more principles. Another principle is that the disciple has to be qualified. Another principle is that the training has to be complete. Another principle is, in the presence of the spiritual master, he cannot initiate. These are all multiple principles are there. When the order of the spiritual master comes, then all of these principles will come into force. They will start acting. So the person cannot become a spiritual master, even though all the principles may be fulfilled, until the order is there. And we are seeing here, Prabhupada is simply talking of principles and his desire that everyone should initiate and become disciples. So even this conversation does not constitute an order. And when there is no order, they cannot act. They cannot initiate. They cannot make their own disciples. This is the conclusion. Just like one more example to make the matter clear is that of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra, is he qualified to become king or not? Yes, he is qualified. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No question of disqualification. Is he born in a Kshatriya family? Yes, he is born. Is he the first son of the king? Yes, he is the first son of Dasharatha Maharaj. Did Dasharatha Maharaj have an intent to make him a king? Intent was also there. With all these things in place, did Lord Ramachandra automatically become king? No. He was waiting for the order of the king, of his father. And finally, when the order came, it was not to become king, the order was for him to go to the forest in exile. So he could not become king because the order of the father was not there. So imagine if this is true for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where all the principles are getting satisfied, qualification is there, training is there, he's the first son of the king, all those principles are satisfied, but he is waiting for the order. Without the order, he is not ready to take the position of the king. So if this is true for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, drawing a parallel from Lord Ramachandra's personal example, a jiva, if he has to become the spiritual master, there are certain principles to be fulfilled. One is he should be surrendered to the bona fide spiritual master. Second is he should be fully trained up. Third is he should be qualified, he should be competent, as Prabhupada says in the discussion with Athreya Rishi. And then Prabhupada also says he has to show result in activity, in preaching. So result also has to be there. And not only that, the spiritual master has an intent or a desire also. And the principle of law of disciplic succession, that the spiritual master is no more there. Then also, even if all these principles are fulfilled, the disciple cannot automatically become the guru. Lord Ramachandra did not automatically become the king. Similarly, drawing a parallel, the disciple cannot automatically become a spiritual master. He has to wait for the order of his predecessor, spiritual master. That is why Prabhupada in that famous Nairobi lecture on the Bhagavad Gita said that without the order of one's guru, one cannot become guru. One can become a guru only when he is ordered by his guru. That's all. So the order is the final thing. Even though we may fulfill all the principles, all the conditions, still without the order, nobody becomes automatically guru. Now, when Prabhupada speaks of qualification, what was Srila Prabhupada's assessment of his disciples as far as qualification was concerned? Whether they were qualified to become spiritual masters? That is answered in the April 22nd, 1977 conversation which we saw earlier, where Tamal Krishna himself said, well, I have studied myself and all of your disciples, and it is clear fact that we are all conditioned souls, so we cannot be guru. Maybe one day it may be possible. And Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, but not now. And so Prabhupada said, yes, I shall choose some guru. I shall say, now you become Acharya, you become authorized. I'm waiting for that. You become all Acharya. I retire completely. But the training must be complete, meaning you must become qualified. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj already said none of them are qualified. So, you see, in 1977 also, in April, which was hardly 7 months before Prabhupada disappeared, Prabhupada said none of his disciples had yet become qualified. And in another letter to Alalnath on 10th of November in 1975, Srila Prabhupada wrote, all of our students will have to become guru, but they are not qualified. This is the difficulty. No qualification, no order. But principles, intent, desire, none of them are violated just because order is not there, because qualification is not there. Another oft-quoted reference is from Srila Prabhupada's room conversation on April 15, 1977 in Bombay. This is also quoted by the supporters of the self-appointed guru system in ISKCON. So Prabhupada says in this, like father, like son. Now you have got this quote. Like father, like son, you should be. Gaurangera Bhakta Jane, everyone. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amarajnai Guru Haya Taraye Desha. He asked everyone, just become guru. Follow his instruction, you become guru. Amarajnai, don't manufacture ideas. Amarajnai, what I say you do, you become guru. Where is the difficulty? And what is your ajna? Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. Bas, everything is there in the Bhagavad Gita. You simply repeat, that's all. You become guru. To become a guru is not difficult job. Follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and speak what Krishna has said. Bas, you become guru. So, to understand this above quote, let us consider this quote once again from Srila Prabhupada's conversation on April 22nd, 1977. Prabhupada said, yes, I shall choose guru. I shall say, now you become Acharya, you become authorized. I'm waiting for that. You become all Acharya, I retire completely, but the training must be complete. And Tamal Krishna confirms the process of purification must be there. And Prabhupada, oh yes, must be there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants that. Amarajnai Guru Haya, you become Guru, but be qualified. So when Prabhupada says that the training must be complete, meaning you must be qualified. Little thing, strictly follower. Tamal Krishna, not rubber stamp. Prabhupada, then you will not be effective. You can cheat, but it will not be effective. So you see, although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amarajnai Guru Haya, Prabhupada always said, qualification is essential. So like we saw from Srila Prabhupada's quote earlier, Prabhupada says he wants that each and every one of his disciples become as powerful as he is, or more than that. That is his desire. Just like father wants every son to be as qualified or more qualified than the father. But it is up to the student or to the son to raise himself to that standard. So this is the earlier quote. So for the quote under discussion now, when Srila Prabhupada said, like father, like son, you should be. Gaurangera Bhaktajane, everyone. So everyone should be Gaurangera Bhaktajane, everyone should be like father, like son. So what does that mean? It means Prabhupada is stating a principle. And it means that Guru wants disciple to become Guru, but if he is not qualified, Guru will not appoint him. And if Guru does not specifically appoint him, disciple cannot become Guru. So in this quote, father, like son, you should be. So that's a general principle. Generally, the son becomes like the father. But if the son is not qualified, father will not make him like him. Similarly, it is expected that all the disciples will elevate themselves to the standard of their Guru. But if they are not able to do that, then they cannot become Guru. So this quote is only expressing Prabhupada's intent or desire and the principle. Further, in that same quote, Srila Prabhupada is quoting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and saying that he also wants that Amarajnai Guru Haya. But before that, Prabhupada said, I shall choose some Guru, I shall say, now you become Acharya, you become authorized, I am waiting for that. So here also, Prabhupada is saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants, but it is up to the disciple to become qualified. Then the Guru will order, and then only the disciple can become Guru. So the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Srila Prabhupada cannot be construed as an order. Order has to specifically come from the Guru, Srila Prabhupada. So this quote also, if you look at it, it does not fulfill the criteria of being an order. So Prabhupada in this quote said, like father, like son, you should be. Meaning it is the intent, it is the desire of the spiritual master. That's all. It does not constitute an order. So you will see Prabhupada quoting this Amarajnai verse and asking everyone to preach and become Guru. So not only here, you will find in several places Prabhupada saying this, in several purports, in several lectures, conversations, etc. How do we understand that? For that, let us go to the original source of this verse, which is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 7, verse 128. The verse goes like this, Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh, Amarajnai Guru Haya tare desha. The translation is, instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Shri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. So in the translation, you see, the function of the Guru ordered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described. It is what? It is to instruct. Please note, the translation begins with instruct. So, instruct everyone to follow the orders of Krishna and in this way become spiritual master. Not by giving Diksha, simply by instruction. So, the order is to become Siksha Guru, not to be Diksha Guru. Moreover, at the end of the translation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, liberate everyone, Tara E Desha. So if a preacher is qualified enough to liberate everyone by his preacher, then he is qualified, then such a devotee will be ordered by his predecessor spiritual master to become Guru. And then he can also give Diksha. Otherwise, his duty is to simply instruct everyone to follow the order of Krishna. So you see, this Amarajnai Guru Haya is a standing order to become Diksha Guru. It is about instructing others, not giving Diksha to others. Now, let us see what Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to this verse. So, in the purport, Prabhupada says, this is the sublime mission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Many people come and inquire whether they have to give up family life to join the society, but that is not our mission. One can remain comfortably in his residence. We simply request everyone to chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one is a little literate and can read Bhagavad Gita as it is and Srimad Bhagavatam, that is so much the better. These works are now available in an English translation and are done very authoritatively to appeal to all classes of men. Instead of living engrossed in material activities, people throughout the world should take advantage of this movement and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra at home with their families. One should also refrain from sinful activities, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling and intoxication. Out of these 4 items, illicit sex is very sinful. Every person must get married. Every woman especially must get married. If the women outnumber the men, some men can accept more than one wife. In that way, there will be no prostitution in the society. If men can marry more than one wife, illicit sex life will also be stopped. One can also produce many nice preparations to offer Krishna: grain, fruit, flowers and milk. Why should one indulge in unnecessary meat eating and maintain horrible slaughterhouses? What is the use of smoking and drinking tea and coffee? People are already intoxicated by material enjoyment, and if they indulge in further intoxication, what chance is there for self-realization? Similarly, one should not partake in gambling and unnecessarily agitate the mind. The real purpose of human life is to attain the spiritual platform and return to Godhead. That is the summum bonum of spiritual realization. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to elevate human society to the perfection of life by pursuing the method described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his advice to the Brahmana Kurma. That is, one should stay at home, chant the Hare Krishna mantra and preach the instructions of Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is how Prabhupada concludes the purport. So at the end, Prabhupada is concluding this purport by giving the essence or the conclusion of the Amarajñai verse. What is the conclusion of the Amarajñai verse given by Prabhupada at the end of this purport? That is, one should stay at home, chant Hare Krishna and preach the instructions of Krishna. Now, that is not the definition or function of a Diksha Guru. This fits the description only of a Siksha Guru. So in the entire purport or in the translation, nowhere is Srila Prabhupada talking about Diksha. It is all about preaching. Stay at home and talk about Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam to others. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order was to become Siksha Guru, not Diksha Guru. Now let us look at the next verse, verse number 129, which is a continuation of this. Kabuna badibe tomara vishaya taranga punarapi edhai pave mora sanga. So the translation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further advised the Brahmana Kurma. If you follow this instruction, Amarajñai Guruhaya, your materialistic life at home will not obstruct your spiritual advancement. Indeed, if you follow these regulative principles, we will again meet here, or rather, you will never lose my company. So you see, again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, if you follow the Amarajñai Guruhaya verse, you stay at home and take care of your material household activities, still you will progress spiritually. He is not telling him to give Diksha. In the purport, Prabhupada says, this is an opportunity for everyone. If one simply follows the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu under the guidance of his representative and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, teaching everyone, not initiating everyone, teaching everyone as far as possible the same principle, the contamination of the materialistic way of life will not even touch him. It does not matter whether one lives in a holy place like Vrindavan, Navadvip or Jagannath Puri, or in the midst of European cities where the materialistic way of life is very prominent. If a devotee follows the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lives in the company of the Lord. Wherever he lives, he converts that place into Vrindavan and Navadvipa. This means that materialism cannot touch him. This is the secret of success for one advancing in Krishna consciousness. So again, this purport is also only talking about teaching, which is preaching, not about initiating. It is simply confirming that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about Siksha Guru. Now, let us look at the next verse after this, verse number 130, which is also in continuance of the Amarajnai verse. Ye mata yara ghare kare Prabhu bhiksha, se aichhe kahe tare karai ye siksha. The translation, at whosoever house Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted his alms by taking prasadam, he would convert the dwellers to his Sankirtan movement and advise them just as he advised the Brahmana named Kurma. So, we can see that this instruction of Amarajnai Guruhaya was not only to Kurma Brahmana, but to all householders that Mahaprabhu met. And he gave this same instruction to all of them. So, about the same Amarajnai instruction, this is what Srila Prabhupada said in this purport, which is a continuation of the same thing. The purport says, the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explained here very nicely. One who surrenders to him and is ready to follow him with heart and soul does not need to change his location, nor is it necessary for one to change his status. One may remain a householder, a medical practitioner, an engineer, or whatever, it doesn't matter. One only has to follow the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and instruct. Again, you see, instruct relatives and friends in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Who instruct whom? Relatives and friends. It is not initiate anyone. Instructing relatives and friends means you are just preaching, you are becoming Siksha Guru for them. Then Prabhupada continues, one has to learn humility and meekness at home, following the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in that way, one's life will be spiritually successful. And now comes the important part. One should not try to be artificially advanced devotee thinking, I am a first-class devotee. Such thinking should be avoided. It is best not to accept any disciples. I repeat, it is best not to accept any disciples. One has to become purified at home by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and preaching the principles enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, one can become a spiritual master. You see, first Prabhupada said, one should not accept any disciples, and then Prabhupada is saying, thus one can become a spiritual master. So what kind of spiritual master is this who does not give initiations? He is a Siksha Guru. So Prabhupada says, thus one can become a spiritual master and be freed from the contamination of material life. So now, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is clearly saying, it is best not to accept any disciples, and in this way one can become a spiritual master. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amarajnai Guruhaya, but Prabhupada is saying it is best not to accept any disciples. So, is Srila Prabhupada contradicting Mahaprabhu's order? No, absolutely not. Srila Prabhupada is simply clarifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order. Amarajnai Guruhaya means become Siksha Guru, best not to accept any disciples. Become a spiritual master. How? By teaching and preaching to others about Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Hence you can see in these three purports, text number 128, 129 and 130, in all these three purports, Srila Prabhupada spoke of preaching, not initiating. And in this third purport in that sequence, Srila Prabhupada is saying best not to become Diksha Guru, but to remain Siksha Guru as ordered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hence, whenever Srila Prabhupada quotes Amarajnai Guruhaya verse, we have to understand that he is doing so referring to Siksha Guru, not to Diksha Guru. So, none of the quotes actually justify that one can become a Diksha Guru automatically upon one's Guru's disappearance. As such, the current Guru system in ISKCON is unauthorized because Srila Prabhupada did not order anyone to specifically become Guru, nor did Srila Prabhupada say that automatically the disciple will become Guru when the Guru disappears. One more thing we have to understand, that authorization by the predecessor Acharya is an inviolable law. There are so many quotes. Srila Prabhupada has said, like, I am training all of you become Guru, law of disciplic succession. Like this, umpteen quotes are there. So these quotes, because Prabhupada has spoken them, by the will of providence, these quotes can be used only for authorization to become Siksha Guru. And this inviolable law of Diksha Vidhana, that Guru's specific order has to be there, otherwise one cannot become Guru, is supported by the May 28th GBC meeting, where Prabhupada said, but my order, when I order, particularly in the future when you are no longer with us. So all these things also have to be taken into consideration. Actually, Srila Prabhupada confirms this in a conversation with the GBC on March 27th in 1975 at Mayapur thus. Prabhupada, direct instruction is important. Just like Krishna, in the books, he has given many instructions, but then he says, Sarva dharman parityajya. If one says that, you gave me instruction before like this, how can I give up this? So that is not important. The direct instruction is important. So our stand is not philosophical interpretation of the July 9 directive. Our paradigm, ISKCON Bangalore's paradigm, is institutional paradigm, as it is explained in the first paragraph of the July 9 directive, which states, recently, when all of the GBC members were with His Divine Grace in Vrindavan. This is how the July 9th order begins. So the reference to the GBC members means that this is for the institution. It is not for an individual, nor is it a matter of philosophy. It is an order to the GBC to be implemented organization-wide. There is no question of philosophy or doctrine or any siddhanta here. Therefore, July 9, 1977 directive of Srila Prabhupada appointing Ritviks is the only bona fide system of initiations in ISKCON. Hare Krishna. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.